Hello and good morning. This is Mehak Rohra and welcome to the second session of Acid, Bases and Salt. Before we dive into whatever we would be studying in this session, let us recall what we studied in the previous session. An acid is a substance that is capable of releasing H plus ions in an aqueous solution. Substances that are acids, they taste sour and they turn blue litmus red and they neutralize bases. Bases are substances which are capable of releasing OH minus ions in an aqueous solution. Remember, in an aqueous solution only. Bases are substances which are bitter to taste, they turn red litmus blue and they neutralize acids. One way to remember these properties of bases is to remember the property of B, B, B. B for bases, bases become blue, bases bitter. So, 3 B's. Bases become blue, bases are bitter. This is an easy way to remember these properties of bases. Now, when acids and bases react with each other, salt is the neutral substance that is formed along with water. So, salt is a neutral solution or a neutral substance whose aqueous solution does not affect litmus. We studied some activities where we saw that acids react with metals to produce metal salt and hydrogen gas. We saw that HCl reacted with a few granules of zinc to produce ZnCl2, that was zinc chloride plus hydrogen gas was evolved. Then we saw that acids react with metal oxides to produce salt and water. We saw that acids react with bases to also form salt and water. Comparing these two reactions, we saw that metal oxides are basic in nature because acids react with these metal oxides to produce salt and water, and acids react with bases also to produce salt and water. So metal oxides work in a similar manner as bases do. So metal oxides are basic in nature. This particular reaction where acids react with bases to form salt and water is termed as a neutralization reaction. Acids neutralize bases and bases neutralize acids. Acids react with metal carbonates and metal hydrogen carbonates to give a corresponding salt, carbon dioxide and water. In a reaction that we did in the previous session, we saw that sodium carbonate and sodium hydrogen carbonate reacted readily with hydrochloric acid. They produced sodium chloride, they produced carbon dioxide and they produced water. When this carbon dioxide was taken from the test tube and slake line was passed through it, which has a formula of CaOH twice, we get calcium carbonate as a white precipitate. If for an excess amount of time, an excess amount of carbon dioxide is passed, this white precipitate dissolves in water due to the formation of calcium hydrogen carbonate, CaHCO3. Then, we know that acids release H plus ions in their aqueous solutions and bases release OH minus ions in their aqueous solutions. Indicators are substances that indicate the nature of a solution. We have studied about litmus, which is a natural indicator. Blue litmus is turned red when dipped in an acidic solution. Red litmus turns blue when dipped in a basic solution. The litmus does not get affected in neutral substances. Litmus is a natural indicator. We also have artificial or synthesized indicators such as phenolphthalein and methyl orange. Phenolphthalein is an artificial indicator which turns colorless in an acidic solution and pale pink in basic solutions. Acids react with bases to give salt and water. Acids neutralize bases and bases neutralize acids. This particular reaction is termed as neutralization reaction. That was all for previous sessions. Now let us see what we would be studying in this session. Mostly we studied about chemical properties of acids and one chemical property of bases, that bases react, only strong bases react with metallic oxide or metals to produce the salt of that metal and hydrogen gas is evolved. Right now we will check how bases will react with non-metallic oxides We will check if all compounds that contain hydrogen are capable of releasing H plus ions and can be considered as acids or not. We will study then a bit about how these acids or these bases dissociate in their aqueous solutions, and how can then acidity or basicity of an acid or a base can be classified. Then we are going to come to discuss whether we should add a water to an acid or a base, or we should add acid to a water. Let us now begin. Bases with metallic oxides. Now, if you place a few granules of zinc, not metallic oxides, it should be metals, because we will study the reaction where bases react with metals, not metallic oxides. Now, if you place a few granules of zinc with sodium hydroxide and then you let them react with each other, then we studied in the previous session that sodium zincate is formed and hydrogen gas is evolved. To test for this hydrogen gas through a pipe, you bring this gas near a lit matchstick and you will see that that matchstick will burn with a pop sound. This confirms the release of hydrogen gas in this reaction. Now, the salt that is formed is sodium zincate. This reaction is not general. This reaction is not possible with all metals. Why? Because only strong bases react with metals to give hydrogen gas and some kind of salt of that metal. Not all bases will react with metals in such a way. For example, ammonium hydroxide, NH4OH, it is a very weak base. This weak base cannot react with a metal to give the salt of a metal and produce hydrogen gas at the same time. So, reaction of zinc granules with sodium hydroxide solution gives you sodium zincate. This reaction is very important because mostly strong bases react in such a way, and the formula for sodium zincate is Na2ZnO2 and hydrogen gas is evolved. How do you test for hydrogen gas? You bring a burning matchstick near the test tube where the hydrogen gas is being released, and you will see that the hydrogen gas will be released and the matchstick will burn with a pop sound. This pop sound will confirm that hydrogen gas is being evolved. So, strong bases will react with metals to produce hydrogen gas. So, the general equation for metals reacting with strong bases is metal plus strong base gives you the metal salt plus hydrogen gas. The most important equation for this is sodium hydroxide because it is one of the most important strong bases in chemistry. So, the balanced equation for such is 2 molecules of sodium hydroxide react with 1 molecule of zinc to give sodium zincate, which has a formula of Na2ZnO2 plus hydrogen gas is evolved. These reactions aren't general in nature because weak bases will not react with metals, or all kinds of bases will not react with metals in such a way that metal salt will be produced and hydrogen gas will be evolved. Now, bases with non-metallic oxides. We have studied that a general equation compares or comes into being when metals react with acids react with metallic oxides and they give you salt and water, and through this activity we concluded that metallic oxides were basic in nature. Now we will study the opposite of it. We will study how bases react with non-metallic oxides. If you see, non-metallic oxides are those that are made of carbon, oxides of nitrogen. All these are non-metallic oxides. So CO2 is a non-metallic oxide. So bases react with non-metallic oxides to produce salt and water. So one base that we take is calcium hydroxide. We let it react with a non-metallic oxide, that is carbon dioxide, and it will give you a white precipitate of calcium carbonate and water will be produced. Now, we know that this reaction we studied in the previous session when we had acid react with a carbonate or a hydrogen carbonate, where carbon dioxide, water and salt of that metal was given, and then the resulting CO2 was passed through calcium hydroxide, which led to the formation of white precipitate of calcium carbonate. We know that in this particular reaction, if we pass excess of CO2, then this white precipitate will vanish due to the formation of calcium hydrogen carbonate, which is soluble in water. So in a general reaction, bases will react with non-metallic oxides such as carbon dioxide to give you salt of that metal and water. So through this reaction, you can say that non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. If you compare it again with the acid-base neutralization reaction, you know acids react with bases to give you salt and water. We already have a base in this reaction. Similar properties of acids that show in this reaction are non-metallic oxides. So we say that non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. So passing CO2 gas in slaked lime is calcium hydroxide, leads to the formation of calcium carbonate having a formula of CaCO3 and water. Carbon dioxide turns lime water cloudy or milky, whitish color appears. The chemical equation for the same is CaOH twice in an aqueous solution plus CO2 gaseous form will give you CaCO3, which will be a precipitate, plus H2O, that is liquid water. That is how bases react with non-metallic oxides in a general form. Now, metallic and non-metallic oxides. We know metallic oxides react with acids to give you salt and water. This is how we concluded that metallic oxides have basic nature. We know that non-metallic oxides react with bases to give you salt and water. Therefore, we conclude that non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. Next, now we study if all compounds that contain hydrogen conduct electricity. You know, electricity is conducted when ions move around in the solution, or flow of electrons is electricity, or flow of charged particles is electricity. So if you prepare solutions of, say, glucose which has a formula of C6H12O6, then we have hydrochloric acid HCl, and then we have sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4. We know that all of these compounds contain hydrogen. If you connect two different colored electrical wires to graphite rods separately in a 100 ml beaker, and then you connect free ends of these wires to an AC supply, and if you complete the circuit and then you connect one of the bulb to the wires, you pour some dilute HCl in the beaker, so this beaker will have a dilute HCl solution, aqueous form, right? And you switch on the current. What you will notice is that current will pass through this aqueous solution and the bulb will light up. And if you repeat the same activity with glucose or alcohol, the bulb will not light up. But if you repeat this activity with sulfuric acid, the bulb will light up again. Now, I will show you an activity of the same. The activity's source is K-Class Science channel showing how HCl conducts electricity. This is part 1 of the activity. I have provided the link. If you want, you can check it out on your own. We are going to watch it here. Now, here we have graphite rods, we have the AC supply, we have wires connected, and we have a small bulb, right? So now what we are going to do is complete the circuit and switch on the supply and put the graphite rods, anode and cathode, inside the HCl solution, aqueous solution, and you see that the bulb lights up. It means that the acid conducts electricity. HCl does conduct electricity. If you repeat the same activity with solutions of glucose or alcohol, you will see that the bulb will not light up. It means that the circuit will not be complete, or the solutions of glucose or alcohol will not allow electricity to pass through them. The main reason behind this is because HCl in its aqueous solution will dissociate into H plus and Cl minus ions. These H plus ions, movement of these ions, which is what will help electricity to flow through that solution. So you will notice that the bulb glows only in acidic solutions but not in glucose and alcohol solutions. Glowing of the bulb indicates that there is flow of electric current through the solutions. Acid solutions have ions, and the movement of these ions is what helps in the flow of electric current through the solution. We know that acids release H plus ions in their aqueous solution. And this activity just proved that H plus ions are released in acidic solutions. The movement of these ions is what helped you conduct electricity and make the bulb glow. So this is responsible so this activity can actually help you conclude that H plus ions are responsible for acidity of acids. And in glucose and alcohol solutions, since there are no H plus ions that are released, they cannot conduct electricity in their solutions, and hence they cannot be considered acids. So the acidity of acids is attributed to H plus ions being produced by them in the solutions. That is why a more technical definition of acids are substances which can release H plus ions in their aqueous solutions. Now, if acids conduct electricity due to the movement of H plus ions, we know that bases also release OH minus ions in their aqueous solutions. So hence they must be also able to conduct electricity. So now if you prepare solutions of sodium and calcium hydroxide and you repeat the same activity by connecting two different colored electrical wires to graphite rods separately in a 100 ml beaker, then we connect the free ends to these wires to an AC plug, we complete the circuit by attaching the bulb, and we pour some dilute sodium hydroxide in the beaker and we switch on the current, then we would notice that the bulb would light up. So we do part 2 of the same activity, the source being K-class science channel, and now we will see that sodium hydroxide will conduct electricity in the same way that HCl did. Now, in the second part of the activity, we will take out those graphite rods from the HCl solution. We will wipe them with filter paper so that none of the HCl is left in those graphite rods, and we will dip these graphite rods in the solution containing sodium hydroxide, and you will see that the bulb will still light up. So both acidic and basic solutions will conduct electricity. Why? Because when acids are dissolved in water, they break down into hydrogen ions and negative ions of Cl minus, right? And when bases gives OH minus ions and the metal cation, right? The movement of these ions inside the aqueous solution will let electricity pass through them since they are charged particles. Now, you will notice that the bulb glows basically in the solutions of NaOH and calcium hydroxide and acidic solutions such as H2SO4 and HCl. Basic solutions have ions, and the movement of these ions is what helps the electric current flow through the solution. The negative anion present in NaOH is OH minus, and this movement of this OH minus ion in the aqueous solution helps you conduct electricity. So we know that bases produce hydrogen ions in the OH minus ions in the solution bases, and hydrogen ions are produced by acidic solutions. So OH minus ions in the bases are responsible for the basic properties of bases. So the basicity of bases is attributed to OH minus ions that are released by them in aqueous solutions. It is important to remember the word aqueous solutions. So in conclusion, acids and bases both conduct electricity in aqueous solutions. Why? Because acids release H plus ions in their aqueous solutions and bases release OH minus ions in their aqueous solutions. The movement of these ions will help current flow through the solution and electricity will be conducted, and the bulb or any other switch that is connected to it will glow. So now, As I said, aqueous solution is the word that is important when we talk about dissociation, right? So now we will study that dissociation occurs only in aqueous solutions. If you try and prepare HCl from sodium chloride and sulfuric acid, you will see that a gas, that is HCl, will be evolved. But this HCl won't be an acid, it would be a gas. The source of this video is Homemade Chemistry, and I will let you watch the video. In the first beaker we have H2SO4, second beaker we have NaCl. We will mix them together and you will see that the beaker will suddenly turn in gaseous and it will become translucent. This will make you see that actually HCl gas is what is evolved. And if you test this gas will not affect the litmus paper. You know that HCl will turn blue litmus red, but if you pass this gas and if you make the litmus paper come near it, the litmus paper will not be affected by this gas. Why? Because when it is in the dry form, HCl cannot dissociate into H plus and Cl minus ions. If it cannot dissociate into it, then it is not showing acidic properties. The property of an acid actually being an acid is attributed to the fact that it can release H plus ions in that form. When HCl is in its gaseous form, H plus ions cannot be released. And hence we say that dry HCl gas is not an acid. And this activity will help you realize that when this HCl is actually in its aqueous form dissolved in water, or when bases are in their aqueous form dissolved in water, that is the time is when they can dissociate into their respective ions, and that is what makes them acids or bases. Because acidity of acids come from releasing H plus ions, basicity of bases comes from releasing OH minus ions. So the balanced chemical equation of the activity that we just did was 2 NaCl, that is 2 molecules of sodium chloride, react with 1 molecule of sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, to give you 2 molecules of HCl gas and not HCl acid, plus sodium sulfate is formed, 1 molecule of it, which has a formula of Na2SO4 in solid form. So HCl gas is not an acid. So dissociation of acids and bases into respective ions. So the dissociation of HCl in water occurs as follows. HCl reacts with H2O to give you H3O plus Cl minus. The H plus ion that is released by HCl, it comes in contact with water, and H2O plus H plus becomes H3O and a charge on it, positive charge on it. Therefore the compound that is then formed is called H3O plus. It's called a hydronium ion. So hydrogen ions, they cannot exist as bare H plus ions that we just were discussing in our previous sessions. Yes, acids release those H plus ions in the aqueous solution. They go and they mix with water molecules, one water molecule H2O, and they form H3O plus ions, and they associate with these water molecules and they exist as hydrated ions, with each H plus ions attached to at least 4 to 6 water molecules. So H plus is the hydronium ion. H plus comes with H2O to form the hydronium ion, which is H3O plus. So H plus, that is H plus positively charged, reacting with H2O gives you H3O plus. This H3O plus is called the hydronium ion. Now, acids give H3O plus or H plus ion in water. You can say both things. If base is dissolved in water, we know that water must be present. This is how dissociation will take place. The dissociation of sodium hydroxide will be Na plus in an aqueous solution plus OH minus hydroxide ion in the aqueous solution. Same in a similar manner, potassium hydroxide will dissociate and say K plus in the aqueous solution plus OH minus also in the aqueous solution. Magnesium hydroxide, and in fact most all bases will dissociate in the same manner, giving you Mg2 plus and OH minus. Now, this is how dissociation of acids and bases into their respective ions takes place in aqueous solutions. This dissociation cannot take place outside aqueous solutions. So, acids and bases are formed when they, and their acidity or their basicity is attributed to the fact that they can release H plus ions or they can release OH minus ions. If that compound cannot do so, it won't be an acid or it won't be a base, even though if it has 3 to 4 to 6 hydrogen molecules in its formula, it won't matter. This is how dissociation of acids and bases into respective ions in an aqueous solution takes place. Now, do you add acid to water or do you add water to acid, and why is it important to study the difference between the two? If you take about 10 ml of water in a test tube and you add few drops of concentrated H2SO4 or hydrochloric acid, any acid that you find, carefully with the help of a supervisor, and if you stir the test tube and you test the test tube slowly, first try and with the gloves that you have in your hands touch the bottom of the test tube, you will see that this process releases heat. Adding concentrated hydrochloric acid or adding any kind of concentrated acid, only a few drops to about 10 ml of water, releases a lot of heat. So the process that of dissolving a particular acid or a base in water is an exothermic process. It means this chemical change releases a lot of heat. So you must always be careful when you're mixing any type of concentrated nitric acid or sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid with water. The acid is what must slowly be added to water and not the other way around. If you take about 10 ml of concentrated sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid and if you try adding water to it, the glass tube may explode due to an immense amount of heat release, and it may splash around and it may cause a lot of damage. Actually, if you see in most containers that contains concentrated acids, you will always see a warning sign. The diagram has been represented in front of you on the right hand side, that if you see, it shows that if concentrated acid falls on any of those objects, it may cause burns. These are warning signs and they tell you to handle that concentrated sulfuric acid or that concentrated hydrochloric acid more carefully. So remember, always add few drop by drop, add acid to water when you're doing the process of dilution or when you're mixing a particular acid in water or for any other chemical activity that you are doing. You must always add acid to water, and that too drop by drop, and never water to concentrated acid, because the heat that will be then released will not be able to handle, the glass tube will not be able to handle the heat. The heat would be so much, it would be an exothermic process and the glass may break due to excessive local heating. Always look for warning signs. Hence, the answer is you must always add drop by drop acid to water and must do it in the presence of some instructor or supervisor. Now, let us try answering two questions. Why do HCl, HNO3, that is hydrochloric acid or nitric acid, other acids, they show acidic characters in aqueous solutions, while solutions of compounds like alcohol and glucose do not show acidic character? As I have discussed with you before, we know that compounds like HCl, HNO3, sulfuric acid in their aqueous solution dissociate into H plus and the other anion. Now, dissociation and the release of this H plus ion, which will then go and combine with water to form hydronium ion, is what makes or attributes to the fact that particular compound is an acid. This is the definition of an acid, capable of releasing H plus ions and making them hydronium ions. And compounds like glucose and alcohol, solutions of them in aqueous solutions of them cannot release H plus ions. Their compounds cannot itself dissociate into their cations or their respective anions, so they are incapable of releasing H plus ions. Hence they will not show acidic characters. Acidic character comes from releasing H plus ions. So to give you an answer to this question, you say compounds like HCl, HNO3, H2SO4 show acidic characters in aqueous solutions, while solutions of alcohol and glucose do not show acidic character. This is because compounds like glucose and alcohol do not dissociate into their respective ions in aqueous solutions to release H plus ions. So the acidity of acid is attributed to the release of H plus ions. Hence, they do not show acidic characters. Next, when you're diluting an acid, that means when you mix more water in an acid and you decrease the concentration of H plus ions in an acid, why is it recommended that acid be added to water and not water to acid? As we just discussed some minutes ago, we know that the process of dissolving an acid or a base in water is an exothermic process. We know care must be taken while mixing concentrated nitric acid or sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid with water. Acid drop by drop must always be added very slowly to water with constant stirring. If water is added to concentrated acid, then the heat that is generated may cause the mixture to splash out, and it will cause burns due to excessive local heating, which is very dangerous. Hence, it is always recommended that acid be added to water and not water be added to acid. That is all for this session. Now let us study whatever we went through in this session. Let us make a small summary of it. We know that strong bases are the only bases that react with metals to produce hydrogen gas. So the general equation can be metals plus strong bases react with react with metals with strong bases give you salt plus hydrogen gas. Sodium hydroxide, being a strong base, readily reacts with zinc to give you the salt called sodium zincate, whose formula is Na2ZnO2 plus hydrogen gas is evolved. Same way, sodium hydroxide can react with aluminium to give you a compound called aluminium zincate, and hydrogen gas will evolve. Sodium aluminate, not aluminium zincate, but sodium aluminate and hydrogen gas will be evolved. Bases react with non-metallic oxides in a similar manner. Acids react with metallic oxides to produce salt and water. The example that we studied is calcium hydroxide reacting with a non-metallic oxide, which is carbon dioxide, to give you calcium carbonate plus water. We know acids and bases conduct electricity in their aqueous solution. Why? Because acids and bases can dissociate into their respective ions in an aqueous solutions. Acids will release H plus ions in aqueous solutions and bases will release OH minus ions. While solutions of alcohol and glucose, even though they contain OH molecules and hydrogen molecules, they will not be able to release them. Why? Because in aqueous solutions they cannot readily dissociate into their respective ions. The acidity of acids come through releasing H plus ions, and the basicity of bases comes through releasing OH minus ions. The process of dissolving an acid or a base in water is an exothermic process. We must always slowly add drop by drop acid to water and not water to acid, because adding water to acid is a heavily exothermic process. A lot of heat is evolved, and hence it may cause the test tube or container that is holding your acid to break, and it may cause a lot of damages and acid burns. Hence, if water is added to concentrated acid, heat generated may cause the mixture to splash out and cause burns. Hence, always with a slow process, acid must be added to water. That is it for this session. In the next session, we will be studying about something called how strength of acid, bases and salt is measured. It is measured by a value in pH. And we will study about the pH scale and to what range can acids be defined, to what ranges can bases be defined, and to what range can neutral substances be defined. Then we will study about why pH is important in our daily life and why was it invented in the first place. We know that acids and bases react together to give you salts. Some salts that are produced by these action of these acids on bases or action of these bases on acids, they are important because they can be used for a variety of reasons, or even they can be used to then produce other products. So the family of salts that we would be studying mostly would be common salt, washing soda, baking soda, bleaching powder, and plaster of Paris. Their compounds, their chemical formulae, how they are formed, and what's their use is what we will discuss in the next chapter, in the next session. So this is all for this session. I hope the basics of how bases react with non-metallic oxides, how acids react with metallic oxides, and other events that we discussed have been clear. So we will meet in the next session. Till then, thank you and please be safe.